It was the 12th SAC bomber crash in 7 years. No one knew where the H-bombs were. A dozen ships from the American 6th Fleet are now helping the Air Force in the search, codenamed Operation Broken Arrow.
I saw what looked like 1,000 American soldiers march across the fields, looking. And I went up to some of the privates, asked them what they were doing. They said, we're looking for butterflies.
Somewhere out there off the sunny coast of southern Spain, an H-bomb is missing. It's been missing now for over 3 weeks, ever since a B-52 nuclear bomber crashed while refueling with a tanker aircraft just off the coast here, just outside this village of Palomares. Although it wasn't admitted until 5 days later, the B-52 was carrying 4 unarmed H-bombs, enough to wipe out about half of England. 3 of the bombs were later found on the ground, the 4th is still missing. It's these 4 bombs which have brought 2,000 American servicemen to a camp just outside the village of Palomares and about a dozen ships of the American 6th Fleet to encircle the sea area where the big hunt for the bomb is on. Although the Americans obviously want to keep the operation quiet and downplay the reaction to it, the villagers of Palomares here, unlike Dr. Strangelove, haven't yet learnt to stop worrying about the bomb.
The B-52 was part of America's Strategic Air Command, the 1,000-plane force which has fully loaded nuclear bombers in the air 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to guard against a surprise nuclear attack. It was at 9:30 on the morning of January the 17th that the B-52 from Ohio started its routine refueling from a KC-135 tanker plane in front of it at 30,000 feet. Seven minutes after the start of refueling, something went wrong. It was the 12th SAC bomber crash in 7 years, but as SAC headquarters was flashed the news, it was clear that this one was different. No one knew where the H-bombs were. 2 English eyewitnesses of the crash, Mr. and Mrs. Norland.
Mr. Norland, did you actually hear the crash?
Yes, it was a very loud noise.
And what did you do then?
We looked out of our window. We saw the Spaniards down in the square looking up and gesticulating madly. So we rushed up here, which is the highest spot in the village, and we saw what was left to be seen over there. A parachutist coming down, a great deal of smoke, flames on the ground because the pieces had dropped on the ground, and the parachutist coming down over the sea.
Now, at this time, you didn't have any idea that there was a nuclear bomb or nuclear bombs in the aircraft at all?
Not at all, no. My reaction was that it was just, lucky that it looked as if nothing had happened to the Spaniards. It was just the Americans playing their war games.
But the Americans weren't playing at war games when they learnt of the crash. Servicemen from Spanish bases and some from Germany and America itself set up a search headquarters for the bombs just outside Palomares. Wreckage, some of it top-secret electronic equipment, had to be collected over a 15-mile area. The 3 bombs that fell on land, a Spanish villager told me, weren't all recovered till 5 days after the crash. 2 of them, I learnt, were cracked and releasing radioactivity. Helicopters and planes packed with radiation detection devices have been scouring the coast and sea for the missing 4th bomb. A dozen ships from the American 6th Fleet are now helping the Air Force in the search, codenamed Operation Broken Arrow. Cruisers and destroyers with sonar equipment have been trying to locate the lost bomb and also screening the approaches against enemy spies. 16 Navy divers of a special bomb disposal unit have been in action, but their maximum diving depth is 200 feet, so 2 deep-diving midget submarines have been sent from America. Spanish civil guards and secret police cordon the area around the American camp and Palomares. But Colonel Skip Young, the information officer, wouldn't even admit there was an H-bomb missing. No comment was as talkative as he would get. And there's a shroud of secrecy over the converted Spanish lorries the Americans are using. It's said they've been taking radioactive earth and wreckage for burial at a machine gun-guarded camp further up the coast. Although the Americans say that the bombs could not have exploded because of their intricate safety devices, no chances have been taken with the hazards from radioactivity. Claims resulting from plane damage or destruction of crops because of radiation risk have been filed by villagers. This couple are claiming £480 because their tomato crops have been cut down. They told me that they'd both been checked for radiation, but no one had told them when they could replant their crops. What we don't know, we fear, they said. In Palomares itself, there are still fears. One man claimed that 150 swarms of bees had suddenly died. The civil guard makes sure sightseers aren't welcome. The main village crop is tomatoes. Some of them are exported to Britain. But after the crash, the villagers were told to eat no locally produced food, and there was an embargo on it in nearby markets. In spite of the Americans' denial that there is a danger to public health, there's been plenty of activity in the areas where the 3 land bombs were recovered.
I saw, well, what looked like 1,000 American soldiers pile out of 3 or 4 lorries, put into lines and are ordered to march across the fields about a yard distance from each other, looking. And I went up to some of the privates, asked them what they were doing. They said, we're looking for butterflies. So I saw there was no information we got from them. Then I asked a captain or a major, something like that, and he told me, well, look, we're not allowed to give you any information. If you ask, someone will get into trouble. All I can tell you is that you can write a letter to Robert McNamara.
The Defense Secretary
The
in
Defense
Washington.
Secretary in Washington. He will give you what information is to be had.
What was the reaction of the villagers themselves?
In Palomares, all the villagers were sitting round looking at the Americans as if they were visitors from another planet, completely silent, very dumbfounded about the whole thing, and I think very frightened.
The coast round Palomares is the last underdeveloped part of the Spanish Mediterranean. For the past year or so, this poor and dry area has been expecting a boom, but of the tourist, not the nuclear variety. Ironically, this week a new government hotel was to be opened, but mysteriously the official launching was postponed at the last moment. 2 other hotels are being built. Now their owners wait anxiously for the outcome of the bomb search. The missing bomb too has hit the main employment of the locals, fishing. Scientists say contamination will be so diluted as to be harmless, but no one wants to buy fish in the area. Business is bad. At sea, inside a semicircle guarded by the Navy, lies the cause of the trouble, the bomb itself. From a private boat, ITN got these shots of the coloured marker buoys, the only signs of the search beside the ships. Beneath one of these, there could be an H-bomb. But to get at it, the Americans are now calling in midget submarines. The first to go to work will be the Alvin. It's a 2-man submarine which can dive to 6,000 feet and is equipped with lights, cameras, a mechanical arm and sounding devices. The American Task Force for Operation Broken Arrow has so far cost £10 million, but could cost much more if secret equipment falls into wrong hands or radiation hazards prove greater than forecast. Spain has now banned American nuclear flights over her mainland, but with nuclear bombers always in the air, the risk remains of similar crashes. The security provided by the bomb, even on the sunny southern coast of Spain, can be a dangerous business.